appreciate your presence this morning. I also want to welcome Mr. Adedeji Adebiyi, who is also my good friend, and Mr. Oladiran Falore, who is also my very good friend. I remember Mr. Oladiran when we began practicing Abuja as legal practitioners, running around CAC and the rest of it. We used to meet each other, we share ideas, you know, a lot of hustling, and we have come a long way. I want to welcome everyone, members of the MBA Garki branch, members of the MBA who are not members of our branch, members of ICSAN, both within the Abuja chapter and across the country, and everyone who is part of this webinar today. I want to say thank you to everyone for being part of us. Thank you for participating, giving your time out to learn about corporate governance issues and the rest of it. It's a topic that is very relevant. Today's topic is relevant to what we are doing as legal practitioners, our practice, and also for those who are charter secretaries. We need to open our minds and hearts to be able to learn more. So I want to welcome everyone. Please listen carefully, take notes, and participate actively in this webinar. We hope that by the grace of God, we'll be able to have more of such over the course of the coming months. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And next, we'll be taking the welcome remarks of Dr. Chioma Okeke. But Doctor, please, before you start, we have a poll for our participants. We'll be launching the poll right away so that while Doctor is giving our remarks, we're trying to really maximize the time. While she's giving our remarks, we are getting your responses to the poll. So please, while Doctor is speaking, please just look at your screen. The poll will be on your screen. Now, this is to help us gather some data about the demography of participants you have, your knowledge base, so that we are having a very informed conversation. So please let me know in the chat box if you can see the poll. And if you can see it, please just participate while the opening remarks of Dr. Chioma Okeke is going on. Let's have your responses to this poll, please. Kindly confirm in the chat box that you can see the poll. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, please, can you see the poll on your screen?
Oh, it came up the first time. Yes, when you posted it, yes, I can see it, even though it's not at, yes.
Okay, so you can't see it anymore. You are not seeing it now?
Now, yes.
Okay, I can see the polls at my end.
Oh, you can see it at your hand?
Okay. But I'm not able to click or vote.
Okay, Dr. Okeke, please continue with your opening remark.
All right, thank you so much, dear moderator. Let me just begin by appreciating the leadership of MBA Garki, the Liberty Bar, for partnering with us, ICSAN, Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, Abuja chapter, on this very important theme, breaching law and corporate governance, equipping lawyers for the future. I also want to thank the resource persons. Of course, there are ICSAN members for accepting to facilitate this session. Thank you so much, everyone. So the theme before us underscores a crucial shift. Lawyers can no longer be confined to traditional legal advisory roles. In today's complex business and regulatory environment, they must become strategic partners, helping organizations embed principles of transparency, accountability, fairness, and responsibility into governance structures. This means moving beyond interpreting statutes to designing frameworks that ensure compliance, ethical conduct, and sustainable growth. Lawyers are called to advise boards, mitigate regulatory risk, and translate laws into practical governance systems. To remain relevant, every lawyer, the lawyer of the future, must embrace emerging fields like ESG. Of course, we know ESG is environment, social and governance, fintech, data protection, and cross-border compliance, while shaping soft skills like negotiation, risk management, and ethical leadership. By the way, if you want to know or read more about negotiation, you can visit keynesreferenceguard.com. You will see a lot of write-ups on negotiation. So equally important is adapting to technology from AI tools in practice to digital governance platform. So while we have international standards such as the OECD, that's Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, principles set benchmark, Nigeria and Africa face unique governance challenges that require locally tailored solutions. Lawyers therefore stand at the intersection of law and governance, uniquely positioned as architects of truth, trust, and accountability in organizations. So this webinar is about equipping ourselves for that role, ensuring that lawyers remain indispensable in shaping the future of corporate life. I therefore encourage us to please stay engaged, listen attentively, and participate actively. Thank you so much for being part of this session. Thank you so much. I'm grateful. Over to you, moderator. Thank you. Are we there, moderator? Are you there?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
yes,
you.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. But okay.
Can you hear me?
It's like you are muted, but we can hear you. I don't know how that's working. Is that network issue? I'm saying it's muted, but go ahead. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Apologies for the breaking transmission. Apparently, my network has other plans today. So, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, loud and clear. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. So we are still getting responses to the poll. 25 persons have filled the poll. So I will just proceed to take the citation of our speakers. While I'm doing that, the poll is still going to be on so that we can keep getting more responses to the poll. So please keep filling the poll. Keep filling the poll. We'll keep getting your responses. So I am going to be taking, we have two speakers for today's session. Our first speaker is Adedeji Adebiyi. Adedeji Adebiyi is licensed to practice law in Nigeria and has traversed the spheres of company law with over a decade of experience in providing as advisory services to clients on various aspects of corporate governance and commercial law. He has worked at law firms and corporate organizations. He was the corporate and commercial practice lead at a reputable law firm in Abuja, and also served as the compliance officer and regulatory liaison of one of the best rated pension fund administrators in Nigeria. Adedeji has written articles on interesting subjects such as social media, corporate governance, real estate, data privacy, and so on. He's a member of reputable professional bodies such as the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, International Council for Commercial Arbitration, ICCA, and Young International Arbitration Group, YIAG. He is the immediate past chairman, Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, Abuja chapter. Adedeji currently serves as the board of Micmad Insurance Brokers Limited. He has a special interest in areas of insurance, banking, pensions, and intellectual property, and has been able to provide legal and technical support to clients in those sectors of the Nigerian economy. Good afternoon once again, and welcome, Mr. Adedeji.
Thank you very much, moderator. I hope you can hear
very
me
quickly.
loud and clear.
Yes, very quickly, I will take the profile of our second speaker, Oladiran Falore. Oladiran Falore is a multi-specialist lawyer with over 16 years of experience in corporate and commercial law. His expertise includes mergers and acquisitions, project and corporate finance, investment banking, private equity, and tax. He also advises on corporate governance, telecommunications, data privacy, franchising, hospitality, insolvency, business recovery, immigration, agribusiness, and transaction restructuring. Known for his strategic and practical approach, Oladiran provides comprehensive legal support to clients across various sectors, guiding them through complex transactions and regulatory matters with clarity and confidence. He is the managing partner of Syntegral Legal Practice, a full-service law firm with offices in Abuja and Lagos. He is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, and Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, CITN. He is an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitration and also a former chair of ICSAN Abuja. So we are literally surrounded by chairmen. Chairs, I love chairs in the conversation today. Welcome, Mr. Oladiran Falore.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Moderator. Thank you.
Okay. Now, at this point, we have had the poll for this long. 46 persons have filled the poll. And I'm going to have to end the poll at this point so that we can go into the presentation properly. So yes, we are getting more responses. Okay, so I think I'll give like a couple more seconds if we can get about 55 responses. We have 48 now. Dear participants, please fill the poll. And like I announced earlier, there'll be no need for you to drop your personal details in the chat box, please. There'll be no need for you to indicate your Supreme Court number, your email address, or your name. Those are your personal identifiers. We will not be needing them. Okay, so thank you. At this point, dear participants, we will be ending the poll. And the result of the poll will be announced later. We'll be sharing the results later and making remarks about that so that we can proceed into the conversation. For those who are unable to join via Zoom, the webinar is currently being live streamed on YouTube, so you can also join on YouTube as well. And the ICLE link will be shared on YouTube as well. Thank you. Okay. So, Mr. Adedeji, I'm going to be sharing your slides. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. So, okay.
While the slide is coming up, I sincerely want to appreciate the leadership of Nigerian Bar Association, Garki branch, Liberty Bar. I'm a proud member and I'm grateful that the branch has always pioneered itself when it comes to continuous education for our colleagues. Also, I want to appreciate the chairman, that is Mr. Chairman. We appreciate you for giving us this opportunity to work with your branch. Also, I want to appreciate the leadership of ICSAN Abuja as well for creating this great avenue. In order not to waste time, I also want to appreciate a gentleman who had been in touch with me for well over a year about this program, and that is Mr. Atoyebi Olatunji. He was a pioneer and he tried as much as possible, and I'm glad that today the whole project is becoming a success. Thank you so much. I also want to appreciate my chairman emeritus, Mr. Oladiran Falore. He's an important person to me because he was the one that discovered people like us when we joined the institute, and we've been, we've been flying the flags of ICSAN, and I'm grateful we're all doing well. So, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I've been given that mandate to talk to us about bridging law and corporate governance, equipping lawyers for the future. And part of the mandate given to me was that they said I should talk about corporate governance and to remind us about the principles, because I know corporate governance is not totally new to a lot of us. A good number of us have actually been involved in one way or the other. So I was also given that mandate to talk about compliance and how our colleagues should fit themselves into governance matters generally, anywhere they meet themselves. So I'm to talk within 30 minutes, and it's important for us to note that corporate governance is a very wide topic. However, we have tried as much as possible to see how we can do a synopsis, a summary. There's an important part that was given to us, which has to do with compliance. Compliance is very, very large. So I'll just give us some important nuggets to help us as legal practitioners. So to start with, it should be known that the idea of corporate governance has taken on a renewed interest in the minds of business owners and decision makers. We lawyers are not the only ones that are interested in corporate governance right now. An average investor in the Nigerian economy is interested in the governance structure, in the governance practice of the company or the organization he or she is investing into. As a matter of fact, it's important to let us know that today's shareholders expect great engagement with their board of directors. Back in the day, the board of directors were just high up there. They were just high up. But right now, the demand of the shareholders is that the board of directors or members of that board need to engage the company. They must be accountable. They must try as much as possible to make sure that they keep everybody on the deck, and to make sure that everyone is carried along. However, as legal practitioners, what we need to note is that investors have their taste, and their taste is mainly in the company's success. And because they want the company to succeed, quite a number of things will happen during the course of operation or during the course of engagement. Our duty as legal practitioners in this organization is to serve not only as the law officers, but also to make sure that they need to be compliant with all the available rules, laws, acts, principles that guide corporate governance, which will take me to the role of the board. Now, like I said, this presentation is a very wide presentation. We can't discuss corporate governance for 10 days. It's a very wide topic, and it's juicy for those that are in practice anyway. However, my responsibility here is to see to it that we let lawyers know their role, and as we allow them know their role, even the roles that are not really applicable to lawyers should have a say in such matters. Gone are those days where lawyers just say, because I've been called to the Nigerian bar and I'm working with a company, let me just deal with everything that has to do with law. Let me deal with the lease agreement. Let me deal with tenancy agreement. Let me give them advice on some of these regulatory matters. No, a legal practitioner in this century, especially for the future, must not only be involved in being a legal practitioner, you must be an integral part. And for you to be an integral part of it, you must have a crucial role to play as a legal practitioner or as a company secretary or compliance officer of that organization. It is the duty of the lawyer to always remind the board members that irrespective of how carried away they are, it is his own responsibility to make sure that they do things within the ambit of the law, which will take me to what corporate governance is. It's, like I said, it's a reminder, because I believe that all of us in the room have an idea of what corporate governance is. Corporate governance has a lot of definitions, But the most accepted, the commonest, the most popular was the one provided by Adrian Cadbury Committee in 1992, which gives a very simple definition. It says it is the way companies are directed and controlled. It's a very simple definition. So what it says, what it means is that corporate governance is the way you should control your company, is the way you should manage it, is the way you should provide a vision for it. It's the way for you to see to that the company finds itself in the best of sustainability. So in this presentation, I'll be diving us into best practices. As we are talking about best practices, we'll also be discussing issues that are actually prevailing in the organization that legal practitioners tend to feel that they are not meant to be deeply involved in. But as far as I am concerned as an individual, I feel that our colleagues should be, sorry, that, can you hear me please?
Yes, sir.
Corporate governance. Yeah, fantastic. Yes, fantastic. So our colleagues in in whichever industry that they find themselves should be able to understand that industry. So when we're talking about best practices, we are talking about a commitment to use best practice in any field. Also, it involves using our knowledge and experience just to get the best of success for the company. Don't forget that the reason some organizations, I won't say most, the reason some organizations request for the service of a legal advisor or a counselor is because they know that they've reached a level where they are doing well, but they now want to make sure that they are not carried away. They want someone to serve as a check. So as a lawyer, when you find yourself in a corporate environment as such, you shouldn't just say, oh, because I'm just in their midst, let me just stick to what I know. You must get more information. You must be able to be dispassionate. You must try as much as possible to be impartial. And it's important for us to know that for us to have a proper corporate governance structure, let's not forget that the corporate governance in Nigeria currently is being managed or is being run by the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, and they came up with the corporate governance code in 2018, which was supposed to serve as the mother code for all corporate governance practices in Nigeria. Don't get me wrong, this presentation will not say that every organization must follow the entire corporate governance structure, because in the situation that we have a small, medium enterprise, small companies, it may be difficult to achieve that. But corporate governance extends, it spreads as your organization expands. If you start from a one-man business and is going into a massive one, like you're running refinery or running a major investment that has expanded, even you as the owner of the company will know that at a particular point you need to start setting up proper corporate governance structure. And for those that don't know, it is our duty as lawyers to assist them in that line, because we are the ones that serve as their gateway. Don't forget, we register the companies for them. So as we register the company, it's our duty to remind them that, okay, I think it would be good for us to have a look. I think it's good for us to strengthen our corporate governance structure. Maybe we should have an internal control and audit. We should have an internal control and audit department. We should have risk management department. We should have compliance officer. Those are the things that we can do. So for us to achieve that, companies need what we call the corporate governance documents. Those corporate governance documents are the ones that actually give life to corporate governance operations in Nigeria. They are fundamental and they cannot be ignored. And this corporate governance framework must be established on a zero-case basis. It must be tailored to how it is related to the company. For example, the way the corporate governance rules or the corporate governance operations of a manufacturing company, maybe a company that manufactures noodles, for example, will be different from that of a bank. It will equally be different from that of a pension fund administrator. So it's very, very important that we know that. Now, if companies don't embrace corporate governance, or they are into corporate governance already and they are not sustaining it, they are going to find themselves in a highly dysfunctional status. So it's very, very important that when people or organizations dive into corporate governance, they embrace it into. In Nigeria at the moment, like I said earlier, we have the NCCG, the Code of Corporate Governance of 2018. Before this code came into existence, some industries had set up a pioneer status for themselves, and they had even gone ahead. SEC had its own code then. PENCOM had its own code for pension administrators and custodians operating in Nigeria. CBN had its own for the banks. NCC had its own code for telecom companies. And of course, the insurance industry too had their code. But when this 2018 code came into being, it integrated all the earnings of those existing codes and became the sole provider of that code of corporate governance. And it also mandated those sectoral codes, the industries, that they can give guidelines, further guidelines on, on how they want their corporate governance practice to endure. For us to have a very good corporate governance structure, we have the board of directors. The board of directors play a crucial role in the business of the company. It encourages balancing of skills and diversity, because you don't just bring people into your company for the sake of bringing people into your company as board members. There must be people who are ready to provide their time, their talent, and skill. It must be led by a chairman. It's advised that, and it's advisable that they should have a company secretary. It's very crucial. Legal advisor that can guide them to make sure they are complying with the relevant laws in Nigeria. If you're enjoying a good corporate governance practice, there's one perception that the public will have about you, and it has to do with assurance. When people have assurance, especially, I'll be giving us a good example, especially some of our banking operators. You see that there are some banks that we just want to do business with because they give us a good corporate governance report. Their financial statements are good, and you see that they are managing their risk very well. Those companies will be celebrated because their internal control mechanism is on point, because they have external auditors, they have whistleblowing channels. And it's very, very important that I even talk about whistleblowing. Whistleblowing in Nigeria has been in the scene for about 10 years now. And I feel that it will be important for us to improve. And that we'll see what happens in the public space. For example, you see that somebody blows a whistle, and in a matter of few months, you just get to discover that that person is being tried in court for some interesting cases, whereas it's the person that is being blown that is supposed to be in court. Now, in corporate practice, CG, corporate governance, has anticipated that, and corporate governance is saying that no matter what, such persons must be protected. Their identities must be protected, and they shouldn't be victimized for merely coming out to express their concern. And in corporate governance stresses relationship with shareholders. That was the fulcrum that I first established when I commenced my speech, that the shareholders need to be in the know of everything that is happening in the company. You see, these issues that I'm bringing to you are things that are meant to be happening in the company from time to time. Now, the role of the legal practitioner, the legal advisor, or the company secretary at that point is to see to sticks to the rules of corporate governance. That's the only job. You just need to see to it that they stick to it. How do you engage with shareholders? Ensure you have your general meetings, your annual general meetings, as and when due. You must raise their concerns, allow them raise their concerns, let them make recommendations, let them feel at home. Because as the legal advisor, as the board member, you are supposed to be servants of the shareholders. You are their representative in a way. So you need to ensure that their opinions are brought to the fore, and you have a very fruitful engagement. Also, the issue of ethics is very, very important. As we all know, Ethics is actually a fundamental matter. You can go to the next slide, moderator. Thank you. You see that ethics is very, very important. Ethics, no, the one after this. Ethics is crucial in the sense that ethics looks simple to all of us, but a good number of persons that have lost their licenses or that have lost their corporate image have had issues to do with not complying with ethics. If you're running a corporate governance, structured organization, and your lawyers are there and they see the way directors are dipping their hands or siphoning funds from the company, and you don't talk, that's an ethical issue. And we should only count ourselves a little lucky, because in some jurisdictions, when some things happen, even if the legal practitioner is not directly involved, the legal practitioner still gets the stick. They still get punished because the panel, the judicial panel, or whatever panel that is handling it, will be wondering that this company has a legal practitioner. How come this type of violation happened? In my early days of practice in Abuja, I won't mention the name of the organization. So there was a gentleman that we represented in court. Then was a legal practitioner. What happened was that the company that I was working for, the management, the board, it was even the board passed the resolution that a certain amount should be deployed into a project. First of all, the act that establishes that body does not give them that power. And at the end of the day, it was realized when EFCC investigated, it was discovered that in fact, that fund was not even deployed to what it was meant to be used for, more like they siphoned it. When that matter got to the court, then the judge is in the court of appeal right now. When she was giving her judgment, she said her worry. She said the legal practitioner, the company secretary, excuse me. So she said in her judgment that the legal practitioner was there when that resolution was passed. That obviously you knew at that point that you were not meant to do that. So the judge did not only punish those that even looted the fund and all of that. The judge also told the judge also made a pronouncement that lawyer too should spend 2 years in prison, because that was an act that was unbecoming of a legal practitioner. So we need to be very, very, very principled as lawyers that are working with corporate organizations. Very, very important. Also, an area that legal practitioners also need to look at is the area of sustainability. Sustainability deals with including environment, social, occupational, and community health and safety measures. You will see, you'll be wondering, why should we be involved? In my early days, I was trained as a compliance officer. The duty of a compliance officer is to see to it that crises don't even come up. Not that is when crisis comes or the compliance officer now begins to say, oh, this is what we should have done. No, a compliance officer or a legal practitioner at that point should be able to let them know from the beginning. If you look at the issue of Niger Delta crisis back in the day, the Niger Delta agitation came up from environmental degradation and all of that. If there was a proper governance structure as of that time, the IOCs and the organizations that were doing all those things there would have been an internal mechanism that would let them know that, please, there should be a level of damage that we can do, or there should be a level of compensation. When things happen, those things don't even need to get to the press before we know what we are supposed to do. And also, I'll be talking about transparency. Transparency is very, very important in corporate governance. If there's no transparency in your organization, the organization will not cannot guarantee itself of integrity. There's going to be a reputational risk attached to it. It won't be good if you have an organization and everybody says, so this is what this organization does. You understand? It's very, very bad. So when things happen, most of the codes, the existing codes back then, before the mother code came into existence, stress this, that there should be proper reporting of your activities. Even if they are bad issues, you need to report them. It's better to report yourself instead of allowing people to whistleblow you or report everything that is going on. So it's our duty as councils to also remind the management and the board of such things. I'll talk about briefly the benefits of adopting best practices. There's going to be a creation of values when you are attached to an organization or a lot of organizations, because quite a number of us are providing these secretarial services, legal advisor services to a lot of companies. These companies we need to be attached to them. If you are not attached to your venture, you are going to have some difficulties. So you need to be able to establish, you need to create value. You shouldn't just stop at doing regulatory compliance for the company. Also try as much as possible to make sure that you understand the heartbeat of the companies that you are working with. You need to understand their heartbeat and you need to know well the challenges that they are facing, especially when it comes to regulatory matters. Also, it helps in promoting effective relationship between the compliance with the organized and methods of operation. The next slide, please. So I'm sharing an image of what we call the governance roadmap, or those of us that are for charter secretaries. These are part of the materials tools that we use when we are doing our corporate governance assessment for companies. We cherish value creation, we cherish sustainable development, and also balance of interest. Like I said earlier, the shareholders have their own interest. Their interest is in what? The interest of a shareholder is in dividend and in making sure that the company doesn't die. The board too will have their own interest. Employees have their interest. They are very, very sensitive. They want good salaries. They want to make sure the environment is not toxic. I'm sure quite a number of us would have heard, it's a common language in Nigeria these days. That place is toxic. This place is toxic. That place is toxic. It's not good news to me. Because in a working environment you are supposed to have cordial affair, not that you'll be celebrating these toxic elements. There should be a functional audit system. There should be protection of rights of and the interest of the shareholders. There should be strengthening of powers of the board. The system respects the rights and interests of shareholders, and it enhances information, transparency, and protection of privacy. I won't talk about privacy because I know that this branch has severally they've had conversations about privacy, and I don't want to take our time because of that. So I'll be moving to the next slide. In a proper corporate governance environment, we have our policies, we have our documents, quite a number of them. These are the documents that we use to ensure proper corporate governance structures in our organization. And guess what? Each item you see here is a book on its own. So as a lawyer, you don't just stick to the laws, you need to stick to the principles of corporate governance. And these principles of corporate governance are the ones that give birth to what we see here: board charter, board committees, delegation of authority, fit and proper policy, code of conduct, risk management framework, compliance control framework, conflict of interest. We've been hearing that in our practice. Conflict of interest is a big issue in corporate governance. Whistleblowing policy, policy on related transaction. Next slide. Health and environment responsibilities, clawback policy, succession planning framework for the board. Very, very important. Succession planning is very, very important in our own lifestyle. I once did an evaluation of a company some years back, and the company was determined to ensure a proper succession planning for themselves. So when some directors were to be retiring, the chairman of that company said, "Oh, I know some people in Lagos that I would love to bring into this company." These were people that were in the media, these were celebrated individuals, and of course, you won't hear those names and you won't want to bring them in. But bringing those people in was a disaster at the end of the day, not because they didn't understand what they were supposed to do. They were big names, but the major challenge was that they did not have time. They couldn't cope. They were on the board of like 6, 7 organizations. And at the end of the day, when the regulator noticed their performance, when they did the evaluation, they said, how come this person, out of 4 meetings in a year, this person only attended 1? And the regulator said, no, this cannot work. Look for people that have energy, that can deliver. Thank you for that. Next slide. Where corporate governance fails, I want you to look at this diagram and I want you to pay attention to it, because as legal practitioners, the next slide, please. As legal practitioners in the house, these are the things we should watch out for that will sustain us, that will make sure our corporate governance does not fail. Unethical leadership. When a board member or a group or a particular board is thinking of how to siphon or how to use that, that position to score political scores, so that people know that maybe because I want to become the governor of a particular state, let me first be the chairman or board member of so that will get good recognition. The person is already losing focus. Corruption. Unqualified board members is very, very important. When your company is expanding and you want to start bringing board members, or you want to bring in some shareholders, you need to make sure that there are people that key into the value of your dream, of the dream of that company, or else they are going to kill it. Fraud, a weak board, inefficient audits, internal audits. The audit department gives a recommendation, people will throw it out and they will say, no, there's no point. Let auditors just have their say. We'll still do what we want to do. Okay, I can see myself. Please, let's bring in the slide. For us to enjoy a proper corporate governance structure, there must be an independent board. An independent board, not the one that is being controlled by the CEO or the managing director of the company. It's important for us to know that in corporate governance, the role of the MD and CEO is different from the role of the chairman. And the chairman shouldn't, under any guise, subject himself to the managing director or to the management of the company. That's pretty poor, and it's really going to affect their independence. You need to appoint persons who represent diversity in age, experience, background. Your board should be a liberal board, gender compliance, and there must be people that have that capacity to perform. An engaging board should be willing to question and challenge management on its company's policies and strategy. You, as a lawyer, these are the things you should ensure if you find yourself in this environment. You should make sure that your environment is the type that even if your managing director is your closest friend, you need to let that person know that the board is the most powerful, and you need to have a proper engagement with them. Board members are expected to take leadership. The board ensures that there's accountability of management overseeing regular corporate governance checks. There should always be an ongoing dialogue between the board members, senior management, and all shareholders of the company. As a lawyer, while you're trying to find your feet in running governance matter, don't get me wrong. In some establishments, a lawyer cannot run it all. So you see, in some establishments, we have the legal advisor office separate from the company secretary's office, and we also have compliance officers. If your company is small and you know that's something you can manage, you can assist the company in achieving corporate governance. As they expand, then we can bring in new persons. Use technologies to facilitate corporate governance. Is very, very important. I'm running now so that I'll be able to grab everything that I've worked out for us. An effective board to be able to report on corporate governance matters. For those of us that have been seeing financial statements of banks and all of that, you see beautiful things that they do. They report. Directors need to ensure they keep up to date with regulations and legislation, which can prove challenging. Now, don't forget, directors are innocent people that are coming on board to be the decision makers. Many of them are not conversant with the laws of the particular environment that they are dealing with. So it is our duty as their counsel to make sure they are conversant with the law. When we are having board meetings, when they say lawyer, over to you, you should be able to talk to them in respect of doing the right thing and also ensuring that they follow the applicable laws. There must be authority to back up whatever recommendation you want to give to them. That's when they will give you that needed respect, and they'll know that, oh, someone is not just earning their salary or retainership fee and all of that. There should be training for board members, and there should be board evaluation. Board evaluation is a system whereby governance practitioners assess the performance of the board to make recommendation on whether a board member should still be retained or the board member should leave. Corporate governance effectiveness must be set from the top. A tone must be set from the top. From the chairman to the cleaner in the office, there must be a common consensus ad idem, which is trying to say that there must be compliance to all corporate governance rules in our company. Engaging employees from the start. That's also very, very important. I think that's the next slide, moderator. As legal practitioners in the corporate world, we should try as much as possible to remind the management that your employees, the moment they commence the onboarding process, when you are bringing them right into the environment, those people must be taught, they must be made to understand the whole essence of corporate governance. I worked in a PFA some years back, and the moment we came in fact, a majority of the trainings we did were on corporate governance. And those trainings were not restricted to the lawyers in the house. Everybody, HR, risk management, audit, customer care, business development and marketing, BDM, everyone was involved. So there must be training at the beginning. We should let everybody understand the essence of ethics, integrity, culture, and corporate values. You must be able to convey the organization's expectations around compliance. You need to make corporate governance real. For me, I would have loved that as we are teaching our younger colleagues in the law school, company law, that they should spend, even if it's just 1 week, they should have some internship program or externship program in a proper company that is practicing corporate governance. It's going to be an eye-opener to them, because when they see how corporate governance works, they know that corporate governance is not just an academic exercise. Next slide. It's not just an academic exercise. It is a type of program that you need to see in practice. You see it in practice, you'll be impressed, and you want to be a part of it. Building blocks for a culture of compliance. As employees grow with their roles, compliance needs to form a central part of their overall learning strategy for the organization. The company secretary, legal advisor should work closely with human resources team to build corporate governance, compliance-related issues into orientation and leadership program. Next slide, moderator. I think I'm like 5 slides ahead of you right now. Yeah, just continue. We've passed this place already. So where I am, no, we've passed this place to continue until you see a screen where you have a computer. Making use of technology. Of course, my learned senior and my big brother, Mr. Falori, will say something about that. He's going to expatiate. But it's important that as we are preparing ourselves for the future, we should make the most of technology. We need to embrace technology. Organizations are finding it difficult to embrace technology. And some people think because they can handle computer and they can handle phone that they are compliant. No, compliance means, putting yourself, immersing yourself in technology. I did a minor compliance check on MBA Garki branch this morning. So I went to their website and I saw a button, a live chat button there. So I clicked that button. So that live chat button was supposed to lead me to maybe if I want to make inquiries. So it took me to a WhatsApp link, which was very, very fantastic. But when I got to that WhatsApp link, I checked the picture of, the display picture. I was expecting to see MBA Garki branch, but I saw that it was a picture of one very handsome gentleman that I saw there. I don't have issues with that. But in the world of corporate governance, compliance, if somebody visits your website and there's a live chat and the live chat takes you to a private person's platform, reputational risk may come in. The person may be worried. So Those are things that we need to watch out for. So technology means you need to be immersed in technology. You must really understand what you are doing. A proper corporate governance will allow us to avoid compliance risk. It makes us to be co-owners of the governance framework. It will integrate compliance into the overall governance affairs, and it will reinforce the view of compliance. Also, in a good corporate governance environment, corporate governance evaluation is meant to be done. We are meant to be proactive in managing corporate compliance. Now, I'm talking about legal practitioners. Like I said, it's not everything that you and I will need to be involved in generally, but we need to draw the attention of management to it. So that if an issue comes up, if someone is taking your organization to court someday, you'll be able to say, Managing Director, I once talked to you about this, but I once made a recommendation about this. So they don't just say, oh, I will say, look at our lawyer, what have you been doing all this while? So it's very important that we always draw the attention to it, because in corporate world, the corporate world is generally run by principles. Principles are beliefs, they are foundational agreements that we need to embrace. Train your employees on compliance issues. Please, learned colleagues, I want to appeal to us. The fact that we are working for companies doesn't mean that we shouldn't offer to train their staff. It's very, very important. If there's need for you to charge the company, good. But if you want to do it free of charge, pro bono, there's no problem on basis of relationship you have with the company. But to ease ourselves of the stress of having to come into the limelight to be defending the company all the time, it's important that as legal practitioners, we should always look for every opportunity, not to only train the board or to train the managing director and the management team. You must be ready to also do sensitization. If you are working in a production company, you should be able to do trainings for them so that they will know the issue of ethics, how they need to make sure that the products they are making are not products that will put them in trouble, to make sure that those products are products that fall within the required governmental standard. Integrate hotline for your company. Encourage the company to have one hotline where people can reach out and talk about their concerns, make complaints, and those complaints should be registered. And not only to register, they should be implemented and they should be monitored. Know your industry's corporate governance. Next slide. I've stressed that severally. If you are working in the bank, you must understand the structure of your bank. If you are working with an insurance company, you must understand that industry. Because for God knows, somebody may recommend you tomorrow to be the managing director of an insurance company, for example. So are you going to say, oh, because I'm a lawyer, I won't take up such responsibility? Someone has to be the managing director someday. The pension fund administrator that I worked with back in the day was headed by an auditor. And we could see how ethical things were. We could see how conscious the managing director was. There are some things that we need to understand. Okay, let me give you a good example. When we were in the university, the procedure for opening a bank account was that you will fill forms and present utility bills and all of that. Later, some bank came and just said, all we need is your phone number. And once you give them your phone number, they will open it without providing utility bill and all of that. Now, you need to understand that as much as you are satisfied as a customer that, oh, imagine when one person is saying, go and bring all the forms and all the records of my family, another one says, just give me your phone number. You need to understand that at that point, that particular bank that said, just bring your own phone number, does not have your utility bill, does not have so many things. And at the end of the day, when the CBN commences its audit on those banks, you see that the old one, that one you don't like, that says you should bring this and that, will have lesser risk to manage. Whereas the other one, you now see the other one freezing your account. They will say they placed a PND on it. So they'll tell you, you call them, you complain, you say, don't worry, for me to open this thing, bring your utility bill. It means what they should have done at the initial is what they are now doing at the end. So you need to understand your industry. A sound legal practitioner that is firm would try to discourage that company not to do such. Hold your employees accountable is very, very important. I once worked with an organization where, in fact, I learned something interesting from that organization. That organization works in a highly regulated environment. So if there are penalties against the company, let's say the regulator fines them 10 million naira for doing something bad. So the managing director of that company and our management team, they just decided that, okay, they are not the ones that committed this offense. But unfortunately, there was an oversight. They didn't notice. So what they will now be doing is that anytime these fines are imposed on the company, when the company is to share bonuses with the employees, all the employees will partake. So if you are supposed to earn, let's say 20,000 naira from that thing, from your bonus, you just see yourself being paid maybe 10,000 naira. So when you ask the management, you are supposed to pay us 20, why are you paying us 10,000? They will say, sorry, our regulator fined us 10 million naira, so everyone has to pay. At that point, all of us will now go to the department concerned that, you this department, I don't do this again. Oh, this thing has really affected us. So it brings that consciousness to everybody. So it will hold everyone accountable. There should be a depository of documents. All the documents that need to do with corporate governance, even the ones that don't need to do with corporate governance, you should have a place where they are stationed in your company so that not only you can have access to it, it will be difficult, it will be easier for everyone in the office to access it. So when there are regulations or things like, for example, this taxation laws that just came into being, legal practitioners share it with your company, share it with your board members, share it with as many people as possible. So they will ask you questions, and those questions will make them to appreciate you. Track violations is very, very important. Communicate clearly and regularly. I've told you, armchair legal practice is no longer in existence. Please communicate regularly, review compliance program, and get feedback from everyone. I would love to hand over to the moderator at this point. If there are other issues that I will need to talk about, maybe during the Q&A session, but I just want to tell you that corporate governance is very, very important. It's very, very wide. At the same time, it's very, very interesting. And if you can key into it, especially with the companies you work with, you really enjoy it. It's going to help your career enhancement. Thank you very much to everyone for giving me this opportunity to address you. And I must say that if you want to know a whole lot, it's better you read up or you equally try as much as possible to join professional bodies like ICSAN. Thank you very much, and God bless. Documents.
Thank
All the
you,
documents that need to do with
Mr. Adedeji.
corporate
Thank
governance,
you
even the
so
ones that don't
much
need to do with
for
corporate
that
governance, you
very
should have
amazing
a place where they
presentation.
are stationed in your
Thank
company
you.
so that
We
not
are
only you
literally
can
on
have
the
access
clock.
to it,
So,
it will be easier
dear
for
participants, please
everyone
take
in the
advantage
office
of the chat box.
to
We will
access it.
take
So
the question
when
and
there are
answer
regulations
after both sessions.
or things like, for
So
example,
please,
this taxation
in the
laws
meantime,
that
so that
just
you
came
can
into,
document your
legal
thought
practitioners
process,
share
you can
share
leave
it
your
with your company,
questions
share it
and
with your board
comments
members,
in the chat box. We'll
share it with
revisit
as
them
many
later.
people as possible. So they
Thank
will
you
ask you
once again, Mr.
questions,
Adedeji. All
and
right,
those questions will make them to
Mr.
appreciate
Falore,
you.
are you ready?
Tax violations
Okay.
is very, very
So
important.
I am going to
Communicate
be
clearly
sharing
and
your
regularly.
screen as well. I'm
I've
going to be
told
sharing your
you,
slides
armchair
shortly.
legal practice. Please.
Let me know when you want me to go. I go on.
Yes, please, you can go on.
Corporate governance is very, very important.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Moderator.
Very, very interesting. And if you can key into it.
So, my name is Oladiran Falore, as the moderator earlier introduced.
Thank you very much.
Want to possibly sit on existing protocol to appreciate everybody on this call or on this session, and particularly our wonderful colleagues, because I believe that most of us on this call are lawyers. And for taking time out to attend this event. And I've been
That's very
I can hear voices. Should I go on, moderator?
So yes, please. I'm trying to open your slides.
All right. Okay, I just hold a bit then.
Okay, so you can leave your questions and comments in the chat box.
All right, I think the echoes are from your hand. Okay, so my task is pretty simple. I'm being asked to speak on bridging law and corporate governance, equipping lawyers for the future. The first speaker had clearly spoken about the bridging law and corporate governance, so I'm taking the second segment that has to do with equipping lawyers for the future. Like I always say, the future is actually now, it's not tomorrow. So we need to get on the horse and start riding. Right. So greetings again to everybody on this call. Right. It's without a doubt that our legal profession that we all practice in is undergoing a profound transformation that is driven by technology innovation, globalization, regulatory shifts, and evolving client expectations. In this rapidly changing landscape, the way and manner we used to provide our legal practice can no longer be accommodated, I must say. Uh, Things are changing. The law itself is dynamic. So, as lawyers, we also have to not just follow the trend, and in most cases, to be ahead of the trend. That's why traditional skills sets of practicing law is no longer sufficient, right? We must remain competitive and relevant. And as lawyers, we must acquire new competencies, adopt adaptive mindsets, leverage on technology to deliver more efficient, accessible, and value-driven legal services. So, um, to give us an idea of what I'm going to be speaking on, I've tried to come up with four major objectives of this presentation. And the first one has to do with, number one, to make us understand that there's a global shift that is transforming our legal practice. I'm sure if we have to unmute our respective mic, you all will agree with me that the way and manner we used to run our legal practice as it used to be, probably some couple of years or even last year is a bit different now. So there's a global shift, right? Two, we also need to identify the skills we need for future-ready lawyers. Future-ready in the sense that, like I said, the future is now, and we need to jump on the donkey, or let's say the horse, and ride. So we need to identify those skills. I will be speaking about that as well. We need to explore emerging tools, technology, and innovations that are shaping our legal landscape. And lastly, to formulate a personalized roadmap for continuous professional development and growth. We cannot estimate the value of continuous learning. And that's why we are all here today to listen to us, to speak about what certain things that we already know about or we don't know about, right? So my next slide speaks about the driver. So importantly is what are the drivers of change in our legal profession? And as we know, or for some of us that know, the practice of law is being reshaped by several forces, starting with technology disruption. You have the artificial intelligence, otherwise known as AI. You have automation and legal text tools. We're now beginning to have document review softwares, e-discovery platforms, software that can help you analyze documents or contracts. They're all these indices are actually helping to transform the way and manner legal services is being performed. You also have globalization. Also, it's another key driver in the change, significant change we're beginning to encounter in our legal practice. Some couple of months or years down the line, we had the African Continental Free Trade Area that was set up to boost intra-trade, intra-African trade and economic integration among African countries, right? The part of that agreement, right, of course, opened the doors for African countries to, you know, not just migrate, but also to do business among each other. And of course, for those activities, those commercial activities to happen, lawyers are needed. Lawyers are required, even for policy drafting and all that. We are beginning to have e-commerce platforms. We are beginning to, such as Jumia, Konga, Kilimao, and so many of them that necessitate us to begin to buy goods across the borders of Nigeria, right? As in, right now, you can go on some e-commerce platform and buy goods that are being sold on the stores in Ghana, in Cameroon, and all that, and vice versa. We're also beginning to have e-payment platform, Paystack, as we all know, Flutterwave, InterSwitch, quite a number. Even Pesa, Pesa is, I think, in Kenya or thereabouts. OPay, eTransact, Remita, and all that. And these are beginning to facilitate transactions, payment transactions across the shores of our boundaries, right? And lawyers are also needed in things like that. They are all drivers of the change we are beginning to see in our legal practice. We also have the client expectations. So the beauty of the practice that the beauty of the Nigerian system is that the beauty of the capitalism we practice in Nigeria is the fact that people are allowed, to set up their businesses. We're beginning to have not just Gen Z, even the older folks are beginning to, come up with new ideas and new businesses to do. And that is also spurring new markets and clientele for lawyers. Clients are no, the expectation of clients have changed. Gone are those days where clients will probably insist that they want to come and meet you in person. These are the days where most of the instructions you get are probably via emails or WhatsApp. So the demands from our clients are they want faster results, they want cost effective, right? Solutions. They also want you as lawyers, or they want us as lawyers to also be business oriented, right? So it's not just giving them answers that relate to what the law says, what the law didn't say. They also want us to think as businessmen or people that understand or professionals that understands their their business or their practice, right? So we also have regulatory and ethical challenges. There are also components and drivers that are moving our, directing our legal practice. Emerging areas, I'm sure, if not all of us on this in this meeting, everybody must have heard of data protection or privacy laws. You have the Nigerian Data Protection Commission, who recently also released the General Application and Implementation Directive. You have the fintech is coming up, cyber security, environmental law, and so many other regulatory and ethical challenges that are coming up that are driving our legal practice. So now I'm going to be speaking on. So the question is, we are talking of future-ready lawyers, right? So what is the expected profile or future characteristics of a future lawyer or a future-ready lawyer? Number one, this we cannot run away from the fact that as lawyers now and probably this afternoon, this night, or tomorrow, we need to be tech savvy, right? Gone are those days where it shouldn't even be hard up that a lawyer doesn't have a laptop for crying out loud. How much more? Of course, everybody has a phone, but a phone that's Android, iPhones, or what have you, enabled by technology, by internet, where on the go you can communicate with your clients, solve solutions, draft mails and responses and all that. So as lawyers, we need to be tech savvy, right? Business oriented is very key. I used to say that as lawyers, we are meant to practice law, right? But do you know that that law we practice is actually a business, right? If uh, if you go round the year, I'm sure, as in when you run your practice or you provide a service, at the end of the day, you are probably issuing an invoice to the client that, oh, for the service we render, this is our professional fee for that to happen. So imagine if all you do is just pro bono. How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to pay your staff, for example, associates? How are you going to maintain your office or even take care of yourself? So as lawyers, we need to be business oriented, number one. We need to understand the business of the client as well. We need to be innovative. We need to be collaborative. We cannot, as lawyers, we cannot at all times be combative, right? There are board meetings you go to, there are meetings you go to that, look, at times you just have to come off the aisles puts the client's business into context. I tell lawyers that look, number one, we are doing the bidding of the client, right? So we need to put them in context. It's not in all cases that even if yes, you can state the law, right? But we need to understand that the business of the clients must go on, right? So, as lawyers, we need to put on our collaborative thinking cap for in negotiations, in at meetings, and even when it comes to contract reviews, contract drafting between different lawyers and all that. So that has to happen. Ethical and globally minded, that is very key as lawyers. Integrity is more or less our trademark. It's that goodwill is what we have as lawyers because one client will refer another to you. Uh, I believe that in most cases, your work sells you faster than the advert. We are not inclined to run advert, right? But you all can agree that when we do those articles, we circulate those notices or post those notices or broadcast on WhatsApp or social media, we are more or less letting the world know that we are running a legal service, right? I'm sure you all can agree with me on that. So ethically, as lawyers, integrity matters. If we say yes, the client, or if we advise a client, right, the client must able to, even if the client chooses to run that advice by another lawyer, it must not be. So as lawyers, we need to ensure that we uphold integrity. Then globally minded, we cannot remain on the spot. We cannot say because we are stationed in Abuja or domiciled in Abuja, we only have to be concerned about the activities that happen in Abuja. That is totally wrong. We need to know what happened outside Abuja, outside Nigeria, outside Africa. More or less, let's know, let's be in the news. Be in the news in the sense that know what's going on, know what affects your practice, know what affects the business of your client, right? And lastly, lifelong learners. We have to keep learning. If the legal legendaries like Mr. Afebola SAN can still be reading to date, even at, I believe he's over 90, he still goes to his office. From the last to check, he still read one or two cases or case laws. Then what excuse do we have? As a matter of fact, recently I saw a LinkedIn post by Mr. Soja Pampa. For those that know him, he is the convener of the Convention for Business Integrity, CBI. He was also one of the ones that promoted having sustainability reports for for companies quoted on the stock or listed on the stock market, right? He recently did, I think, a short course on cybersecurity and he posted it on LinkedIn. And I was like, wow, cybersecurity. So what excuse do I have if somebody like that is still learning or still, opening up himself for further education and he's proudly celebrating the fact that he has just run a course on cybersecurity. And I believe for a person like that, he's not just doing it for the sake of, oh, I want to be popular. No, he's doing it because he wants to know more. He wants to understand what's going on. So for us, lifelong learners, we need to inculcate the habit of wanting to know more, wanting to get educated. Moderator, I think you've gone off because I'm going to the next slide. So my next slide here is talking about core competencies. Yes. So for us to strive in this evolving ecosystem as lawyers, we must go beyond the legal mastery and cultivate an holistic skill set that includes one, technical competencies. Lawyers, we must understand and integrate legal technology into our practice, such as we must know how to use legal tools. There are quite a handful of legal tools that are out there. A few of them are free. So there's no excuse for us not to, get familiar with how to use these tools. And I can bet that everybody on this call are familiar with ChatGPT, right? Whether you are using it for your legal research, which is a bit concerning as well. You need to be careful because not all information and data you get from ChatGPT can be correct, particularly if you're using it for legal research or general research, right? So you have quite a number of legal tools. You have LexisNexis, you have Westlaw, you have AI Lawyer. I'm sure some of us have heard of AI robots, right? You have patent. There was one I recently saw, Patent Pal. It's usually used to, to write patents narrative for those that are within that intellectual property space. You have Legalist Decoder. I saw that recently as well. Kestek. And so there are quite a number of them that helps that legal tools that as lawyers we need to be familiar with. We need to know how to use these things, right? These tools rather. So technology competence also, we have to embrace automation tools that are usually used for drafting complex contract and agreements. Also aids in due diligence services, compliance management. So there's a friend of mine also who recently launched an app, a software more or less called All Arbitrats. And it was basically a system or way where we can resolve issues virtually. Arbitrators can begin to use that to resolve issues virtually, and it's a very laudable invention. So technology competence also has to include us understanding cybersecurity risks, data privacy laws, anti-bribery laws, money laundering laws, anti-terrorism financing, right? Trade restrictions. I can mention so many of that, right? That we need to, but most importantly, for technology competence, we need to stay informed of AI ethics, right? Blockchain, smart contracts, I've mentioned data security and cyber security rather than data privacy already, right? And the next important point here has to do with business. I am still on competence, moderator, core competence, right? So the next point there has to do with business and commercial acumen. As lawyers, we must understand our client industry or their business. We must understand their commercial objective. For example, if one of the clients worked within the financial sector, let's say a bank, for example, you as possibly the external solicitor or your in-house, we cannot shy or ring fence ourselves and say, oh, because I'm a lawyer, all I have to say or know about has to do with laws that relates to the business of a client. No, we must be able to understand the business itself, provide advice when necessary. It actually enables us to offer strategically good advices, right? And what does the client actually want? Really, nothing other than clients want business-oriented solutions. They want timely results. They want strategic advices that as lawyers, because for you to render strategic advice, right, or consultancy service, that means we have to be knowledgeable about it. So that's why we cannot mention the fact that we need to keep improving ourselves. So I have interdisciplinary knowledge, soft skills, and emotional intelligence. Soft skills in this case has to do with the way and manner we communicate as lawyers. Our words are more or less our trade in the sense that that is whether in court, whether in meetings with clients or at board meetings. The way and manner we speak matters a lot. So communication skill is very important. Negotiation skill is very important. I mentioned collaboration earlier. Then ethical leadership is also very important. Ethics, we cannot overemphasize the fact that as lawyers, we need to have inculcate ethical conduct in all we do, right? So clients must not just even lawyers to lawyers, right? Imagine if you had informed a fellow colleague of yours that you won't probably be able to attend a court proceedings because something didn't happen. Is well informed of that. It comes to court and is telling the court or denying the fact that you had previously informed the lawyer or the counterparty that you won't be in court on that day. That is not what we should be found with, right? So Stakeholder management is also important. Look at recently the whole Pegasin and Dangote issue. How if we are in when we are involved in things like that, we must learn how to manage the stakeholders, everybody that is involved, from the CEO down to the chairman, to the board members, to the shareholders, to the staff, and also the environment around as well, right? So part of the soft skills empathy because those things foster client trust, team cohesion, and effective negotiation. Lifelong learning and adaptability is very key. Ethical awareness and social responsibility is also very key. I'm talking. So now my next slide has to do with future skills for lawyers. ESG, I know some of us have heard the word and some people are struggling to understand what it means. It's basically environmental, social, and governance, right? Understanding sustainability and regulatory framework. ESG now has become central to corporate strategy and investors' decision making. As lawyers, we must understand sustainability reporting standards. We must understand climate-related disclosures, human rights. So things that the business, so more or less, ESG is more or less, this is how the business itself collaborates with environmental, social, and governance criteria of that business itself, not more than that, right? So as legal advisors, we're expected to help our clients to integrate ESG compliance in their contracts, in their corporate structures, and of course, stakeholders engagement and all that. So we also have the fintech regulation, which is very key because that's the future, which is now, right? We must be able to navigate beyond the emerging digital financial system, know about digital banks. There are about 11 digital banks right now. The last I checked in Nigeria, the likes of VBank, and quite a few of them, right, without advertising for any bank anyway. So we must know about crypto, blockchain rather, right? SEC, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission, release. They're on the front burner now, almost on a daily basis or weekly basis. They are releasing different circulars, directive and regulation. So also this CBN, because those are primary regulators within that space. We must be familiar with what the guidelines they release, directive, even the law itself, the IS Investment Securities Act, CBN Act, and all that, right? So because we need to understand financial innovation, we need to understand anti-money laundering and countering financial terrorism and all that. Cross-border compliance is key as well. I mentioned after earlier because globalization has come to stay, right? It has expanded almost all corporate operations. These are the days where we are all dealing across the borders without limiting ourselves to the shores of Nigeria. And as lawyers, we must be able to manage this complex regulatory landscape, data transfer issues, anti-bribery issues are also very important. Even currency, cross-currency transactions, very key as well. Then data protection, another very important thing that as lawyers we need to understand. We must because for the services provided to these clients, right, and clientele, we must ensure that when they work within that space, they're in compliance with data privacy laws. Recently, the Nigerian Data Protection Commission released the new regulation, which seems to have repealed the old regulation. The new regulation is actually called General Application and Implementation Directive. It became effective 19th of September, even though it was initiated since March this year. And for those that, as we sometimes say that data is the new oil, even though it's more or less a liability, because almost everything you do right now, whether on your phone, any app you are subscribing to or software, you are more or less consenting to that application having access to your data. Without that consent, you cannot use the application and things like that. And those are concerning data privacy issues that we as lawyers, we would have courses, not just to advise ourselves, but to advise clients. So we need to be ahead. That's more or less what I'm saying, right? We need to be familiar with these data privacy laws and regulations. Then risk management is another key issue that we need to understand. We need to be able to, not even as lawyers that run law firms, right? We need to be able to even identify and mitigate legal and operational risks that affect us as lawyers, how much more passing it on to clients and all that. My slide has gone off again. I think I'll just continue. So we have the okay, yeah, thank you. AI in legal practice, being able to leverage on those AI tools I mentioned earlier. Digital governance is very key. Compliance, automation, cybersecurity, even the entertainment industry too. Lawyers, I have a couple of friends that are within that space and providing legal services within that space, and they're doing very well. Tax is the new, it's on the front burner. I see a lot of interpretations and all that on social media, and even within the common space, and everybody wanting to know more. So, as lawyers, 1st of January is almost here. We need to be ahead, and for us to be ahead, that means for us, we need to know even this legal framework. We need to understand it because there's going to be like an heaven's gate of briefs and opportunities that's going to come for lawyers in possibly defending or being offensive. So it all depends on which side of the divide you fall on, right? So, but so we actually understand these laws and the applicability. So, key applications of AI in legal practice. These tools, they help us with our legal research, which also reduces our research time and increases accuracy. You also have some AI tools that can help you with document review. I'm sure if quite a number of us are familiar with the benefit of AI tools, how it is legal services, right? So because now you have software that can even help you do e-discovery, right? You have softwares or AI tools that can help you analyze documents and even draft sometimes, right? The likes of Avi AI, Avi from those that have seen Suits, because when I checked why they decided to use Avi AI, I saw that everything was linked to that very popular sitcom that has to do with the practice of law, the Suits. Yeah, so you had Kira system. So you also have AI tools that can help with due diligence, legal analytics, client interactions. My good brother mentioned earlier how he tried to check on the NBA NBA website. That's the Garki branch website, and he noticed that they have a chatbot. That's very impressive. Law firms are beginning to have that as well, where you have virtual assistant on your website that can help you probably give 24/7 have engaged that client can engage with, right, 24/7 without necessarily waiting to Monday or Friday to communicate with us as lawyers, right? So, and those virtual assistant and chatbot actually provide initial consultation. They also, so imagine if you have F and Q on your website as well, that also provides a bit of service to clients and potential clients. You have AI tools that helps with money, compliance and risk management, even billings now. There's some software that can help you quickly provide your invoice, and with your phone you can actually generate an invoice and share with the client, things like that. And so slide 7, the next slide has to do with tools and platforms for continuous learning. Moderator, yeah, thank you. So I tried to mention a few tools and platforms that one can use as lawyers for continuous learning. Coursera is there, Harvard, Udemy, Red, Future Learn. There are quite a handful of them that we all need to embrace to learn more. So there's no excuse that, oh, I don't have money, because most of these platforms are actually free, right? I think it's only when you want to generate your certificate that may require you to pay $1 or $2 and all that, right? But importantly, please, I would employ and advise that we expose ourselves to learning, right? We also have legal tech communities and webinars like this that one can embrace and know more about, and to get ready and be equipped as lawyers. Uh, Section of Business Law, the MBA, it's a very good platform for us to learn, right? I would employ, for those that are interested, you could join it because they have quite a number of forums and sections that you can, there's employment, there's taxation, there's travel and tours, and so many, more or less all the facet and subsect of legal practice. They have communities, local communities for that we all can. You also have people doing, you have X, you have people doing podcast and all that. Then getting certified, we could get certified data privacy. You could run a course on data privacy, on cybersecurity, on ACAMS, Scrum Masters, AI, even ICSAN, where I belong as well. They are also platforms that you can actually learn more and know more because knowledge, they say, is power. Even though at times money can be power, can make you powerful and knowledge. Just on the lighter note. So are we are we ready for the future colleagues? That's a question that I know you all can answer now. So I'll leave that to you. And what I'm recommending is what? Number one, let's all within our space conduct a personal SWOT. That SWOT is strengths, weakness, opportunity, and threat analysis. Like it's like taking a break, just sitting down, trying to analyze. Okay, I'm a lawyer. How good am I? What can I do to improve? What can I do to get better? Right. So pick a pen, pick a paper, try and identify, analyze, and highlight your strengths within this practice. Analyze your weakness. What are the things you think are dragging? Is it procrastination? Probably you've wanted to write an article for so long and you are still on the first line, and you feel like, oh, every time you try, you're not getting it right. I would say, you know what? Make your first drafts. By the time you make your first draft and you read it again, you will realize that, oh, that was a good attempt. And you keep improving yourself, right, rather than keep procrastinating. Then what are the opportunities around you? I remember my early days, my formative years when I started practice. For people like us, after law school, I just stayed back in Abuja. I couldn't go back home because I said Abuja is where I found my calling, so to say. And my first line of clients were actually family and friends. I called my old man that, Dad, I'm not coming back home. Abuja is where I have to come. Tell your friends that you now have a son that is a lawyer. Whatever issues they have, I'll help them resolve it. And that's how I made my first set of clients, right? So those are opportunities that are around us, and it comes in different dimensions. It may not be family and friends, but it could be the fact that, oh, possibly your brother, uncle, or whoever is somewhere and they happen to have opportunities for you as a lawyer to probably provide external legal services and all that. So those are opportunities. Then the threats. One of the questions on the poll we circulated earlier was, I think the last question on that poll was asking if AI, the evolution of AI is actually a threat to the legal profession. I saw that a couple of people filled in and said yes. Yeah, this is not peculiar to the legal profession itself. Even our friends within the medical space are also beginning having such permutations and fear as well that, oh, with AI, is it going to probably take off or reduce the work of medical practitioners or professionals and all that? But the point is, you can't stop a trend. So it's either you jump on it or you run ahead of it, right? So more or less, let's conduct a personal SWOT analysis of ourselves. Let's identify our skill gaps. Then possibly, if you can, just drop a plan that, okay, within the next 12 months, this is what I want to be. This is who I want to be, because we can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result, right? So it's our time we pick up the pen and say, like, okay, in the next 12 months, if you have to jump on a professional course, there are quite a number of them. For lawyers, there's arbitration. I remember I joined arbitration during my NYSC days. So, and even NIM and all that. That's is the Nigerian Institute of Management and all that. So, as lawyers, we have no excuse. I must say, we have no excuse. You have NIM, that's management, personnel management courses that you can run, is HR courses. And the beauty of us as lawyers is that the fact that we're like octopus, multiple hands, and we can do so much. We can do so much. So it all depends on you finding where you like, right? So we run some courses, arbitration, Institute of Taxation, chartered secretaries, ICANN, for example. I know a couple of friends that are also members of ICANN, as in shockingly, yeah. So it's not everybody that ran away from mathematics that came into law. There are quite a number of our friends that are both chartered accountant and also lawyers, right? Not chartered lawyers, but just lawyers. Anyway, so ICSAN is there, Compliance Institute of Nigeria is there. So there are quite a number of associations that one can learn. Or you run a master's program. For those that already have master, you could do a second master if you have the capacity, right? Even though it's not easy, but because I understand everybody has you have your, is it 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 job, right? But we can't keep doing the same thing and expect a difference, or like I said earlier. So let's fashion our time to learn more. Then network intentionally and build an unforgettable digital brand. That is non-negotiable. We can, as lawyers, stay within the four walls of an office and expect that clients will walk in, right? So we need to, help yourself out, find ways and manners in which you can, meet clients and all that. So the few key takeaways from me on a lighter note. So I remember I used to have a friend, I still have though, that for a number of years, he refused to have a laptop. I'm not joking. And the simple reason was just that if he has a laptop, as a lawyer that doesn't have a laptop, right? He said if he has a laptop, what will the secretary be doing in the office? That why is he paying the secretary if he doesn't? So more or less, whatever work he has to do, he has to pass it on to the secretary to type and all that. And there was one weekend like that he had to do something for a client urgently. And the reached out, I was just laughing because one, he couldn't reach the secretary over the weekend, but he needed to prepare an agreement for a client. And a person that doesn't have a laptop, how is he gonna, as he didn't have a laptop at that time deliberately. It wasn't like he didn't have the money, but he just didn't want to have a laptop because he believes that his secretary should have something to do in the office, keep her busy and all that. So we shouldn't think like that as lawyers, please. That's why tech savvy is very key for us. So key takeaways, we all should remember that the legal profession is evolving and we need to evolve as well. We need to embrace technology, innovation, and interdisciplinary learning. We need to move from technical advisor to governance partners, right? Helping our clients to comply with the law, helping them to be aware of what the law is so that it will reduce their exposure to penalties, to fines, and all that. For example, tax is it's here with us. We all cannot run away from it. Now we are at a level whereby every fund or inflow that goes to your personal account, you need to justify it from next year. That's reality, right? And it's not peculiar to Nigeria, even in so other countries that we always want to compare ourselves with. Most people don't push money into their account. You need to justify it. Because if there's a money in your account, at the end of the year, the revenue, the tax authority are going to ask the individual that, okay, we saw certain dollars or pounds in your account, justify it and all that. So the day has come and we need to be prepared for that. So not just ourselves now, we need to also help clients understand that, look, tax compliance is very key, or else you would incur penalties from FIRS, as it used to be called. So we need to align ourselves with legal strategy, with business objectives. We need to provide proactive risks and compliance insight to clients. We need to be building influence through strategic advisory notes. We need to demonstrate value in corporate sustainability and governance, right? I mentioned continuous learning earlier, right? So lawyers, they say, are change agents, right? The popular saying, we cannot wait for the future, we need to build it, right? As lawyers, we need to keep ourselves with not just the knowledge of the law, but the tools to shape the future, right? And Paul Drucker once said that the best way to predict the future is to create it now. So as lawyers, the future is now, and to get on the horse, the flying horse, we need to be tech savvy. We need to be familiar with these AI tools. We need to know what are the emerging challenges that our clients are going to be facing. Data privacy, you can't run away from that. Globalization has come. We're going to be clients are beginning to do transactions across borders, so we must be able to hold their hands and guide them, not just in the contract that parties are signing, but the tax implications that may happen, custom duties that may happen, particularly when goods are being shared or moved between countries, and so many other things, right? Right. So on the final notes, my final comment will be that the future that we all are in now and tomorrow belongs to lawyers who are agile, who are technologically savvy, business savvy as well, ethically grounded, and globally minded. By embracing innovation, continuous learning, which one cannot stop mentioning, will remain indispensable in the minds of our clients, right? Equipping ourselves for the visual is therefore not just a call for action, but a strategic necessity to ensure that we are relevant, right, within our space, we are resilient and responsive to the demands of this century, whether 21st or 22nd. Thank you, everybody. And I am open for questions and answers.
Thank you, Mr. Fallery. Thank you so much. I'm sure our participants have had such an engaging session. I mean, the attention is great. We have a great number of people who are equally following the session on YouTube. That's how much interest people have in what's ongoing. Thank you so much once again for that. Dear participants, like I indicated earlier, you can leave your questions and comments in the chat box so that both our speakers can attend to them. So if you have questions, comments, we'll be taking them, please, because we want to close the session by latest 2 p.m. on the dot. So we're trying to
quite a number of them.
work with time on that. Questions, comments, contribution. I saw a couple of really wonderful contributions, more like by way of comments earlier. I'm also trying to check YouTube to see if anyone has any question there. But I can see that it's more of people emphasizing how important this conversation is. And yes, it's more of really nice compliments and comments for the speakers and how much our participants appreciate the session.
So we run some courses.
So yes,
taxation.
Waiting for questions, comments.
Secretaries.
I mean, I'm giving like 2-3 minutes for that.
I know a couple of friends that are also members of ICANN.
So either you're on YouTube, you are on Zoom, you can leave your question in the chat box and I'll read it out and we have our speakers attend to the question. Oh, thank you. The information is very timely. Thank you very much. Okay, so Dr. Chioma Okike is asking. Okay, no, not Dr. Chioma. Shofola Osho is asking, how can I do a personal SWOT when I don't really know the progress of digitization? So I want to believe this is somebody who is still trying to catch up on the digitization very fast moving trend. So this is somebody who is interested in conducting a personal SWOT analysis. And I'm sure this is for Mr. Fallery.
Repeat the question, please. You're muted. What said? How can I do what?
How can I conduct a personal SWOT analysis when I am not, when I don't really know the progress of digitization?
That's a very tricky question, Mr. Shofola. Progress of digitalization. So the question is, where is digitalization leading us to? Right. But you know, when I said SWOT analysis, is more or less us knowing where we are today, which is your strength, identifying what your weakness is, which is also part of what's out there now. Then the opportunities and threats are futuristic, right? If you're going to be going towards digitalization, it's as good as Let's read up on it. Let's know more about it. That's it.
Okay. So the person is, as a follow-up, the person is asking, should I get a mentor maybe to kind of help the person align their thought process and help them in conducting a proper SWOT analysis? Do you think having a mentor, especially in digitizing your practice, is something that will help?
Very good question, and it's a bit weird, because I grew up hearing so much from motivational speakers, with all due respect to them, telling us then that we all need to have mentors and all that. And if you ask me, do I have a mentor? I would say no, right? But I have people that I look at, I read their profile, their autobiography, and I am more or less, I don't identify them. I don't reach out to them and call them my mentors. But I'm trying to emulate or do what they've done, do better than what they've done, right? So that is for me, my personal view. But I know that there are quite a number of people that have mentors and it's working for them. So I would say if you think mentors or mentorship works for you, please go for it, right? And I'm sure if you open up the mic, I'm sure a lot of people would align themselves with the thought that yes, it's good to have mentors. That is so absolutely yes. But personally, me, I don't have a mentor, but I have people that I look at their profile, I look at what they are doing, and I'm celebrating them from a distance. Some may call that mentor anyway, but it's just that you can't
Okay, I don't know.
approach
Is
them
it
and
just
ask
me?
them their
Or
mentee.
I stopped hearing the speaker, so I don't know if it's just from my end.
Task compliance is very key, or else we would incur. Say that again. Drake, we can hear you. Yeah, I think there's a question just to, if I may, there's a question here that say that from Abubakar Bello asking what is the benefit of AI to client interviews, particularly data protections regime. Benefit of AI to client interviews. So I would answer like this. There are AI tools that can help you that are now being created and programmed that can do client interviews for you. But for us, I would rather want to handle my client interview myself. But of course, if you have a chatbot or on your website, that helps because the preliminary questions that the client should come up with, or like having a questionnaire that's okay, like for example, you are being tasked to help a client prepare a will. I bet that one of the first few things you would do is to drop a questionnaire. So imagine if, as the client is coming up on your website, asking information about will drafting or testamentary disposition, if the client is filling that questionnaire. So already that's more or less a client interview before you now go into person-to-person, in-person meetings. That's one. Then on data protection regime, for that as well. So most of these, that's why we need to be careful. Most of the AI tools that we use, we need to always bear in mind the data privacy implication of that. For example, anybody using DeepSeek or ChatGPT, you are probably asking ChatGPT to help you revise a contract, and you are living on that. You are living in that box the names of the clients or details that relates to contract itself. Don't forget that everything you put on ChatGPT is in the space, and that is a data privacy issue that one shouldn't do. So I would say that if you are using any of these AI tools, please try and more or less take away the information that will relate to that dealing. You can put the other informations there, but client's name, the contract itself, the nature of that contract shouldn't be. You shouldn't expose that to any of the AI tools. I hope that helps.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Valerie. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, please.
Great. So while we're waiting for the moderator So I also observed someone asked a question on YouTube. The person said, if we are saying that legal practitioners in corporate governance should watch out for risk management, or they should be learned in risk management, that then what is the role of the risk managers? That question is interesting to me. And if the person is still online, the first thing the person needs to note is that a risk manager is a professional. Secondly, not all organizations have risk managers. But no matter where you find yourself in your profession, risk management is extremely important for you to note. And I'm glad that Mr. Fallery talked about it, that even as legal practitioners, we should embed the whole concept of risk management even into our own practice. Risk management in a simple form is a way of identifying, assessing, and mitigating threats and uncertainties. So in case management, there should be risk management assessments. If you even look at it in the world of compliance, in the world of internal control, the element of risk is prominent. And also in corporate governance, there's a soft topic, a soft theme on risk management. So as a legal practitioner, it's very, very important that you read up. Even if you can't attend courses on risk management yet, you can read up. It's an interesting topic and it has high impact. So what I'm trying to even say is that if a client comes to you and the client is so agitated and the client is saying, like, that was why I used the example of the bank. If the old generation bank that requests for utility bill and all of that comes to you and says, counsel or lawyer, can you imagine, see what my rival is doing? My rival does not collect information, it does not collect utility bill, it does not collect ID cards to open a bank account. And it says, since CBN has not taken any action against them, it means CBN is ignoring them. Next thing, let us do the same. As a legal practitioner, you should be able to immediately caution your client that, please, if you've been doing the right thing, kindly continue to do the right thing. Because you are already assessing the risk on your own informally. And I say, if you go ahead, if I'm the lawyer in that situation, I will caution them massively that they shouldn't do. You know why? Because if the CBN is doing an examination at that point of both establishments, they may say, oh, okay, this one that didn't request for utility, maybe the company was established 1 year ago. It does not even have so much profit it has made. So the penalty or the sanction may be minimal. But your establishment has been there for over 100 years. For you to now do that to make that mistake, they are going to place a heavy sanction on you. And when they place that heavy sanction on you, guess what? That same managing director, or the same chairman of that board that told you then that this is what we do and you didn't see anything, will openly, he will even do it secretly, that he will let you why would know that, oh, when I consulted legal department or company secretary that let us violate, they kept quiet. So it means they indirectly, considered, they participated in it. So it's very, very important. Whether you are a governance practitioner or not, risk management, you don't need to wait for a risk manager to come and guide you on some things. That's why when it has to do with what you know as a legal practitioner. So please watch out. As a lawyer, you can read materials, learn about risk management. It's very, very important. You will enjoy it. Thank you very much, sir.
Moderator is back.
So apologies, please. My network has been bouncing me around. Shofola Osho is asking. There's going to be a lot of feedback from my hand because of the live stream from YouTube as well. So yes, I know we're trying to take question and answer before my network kicked me out. And I'm seeing a couple of questions in the chat of about ICSAN. Someone is asking for the mobile number of the Lagos officer. Someone is asking, do we have in Warri? So
question, please.
So I don't know if there's anybody from ICSAN to answer that. How can I conduct a personal SWOT analysis when I am not? Can you hear me? when I don't really know the progress of digitization. Okay, do we have someone from Ixan to provide questions on, to provide answers to, okay, Doctor just shared for the Lagos office, there's a contact in the chat box for Ixan Lagos, and then if there's an Ixan office in Warri, someone is also asking. Yes, there's going to be an echo from my head. Sorry, it's from the YouTube live stream. So let me see if I can,
which is
I can mute that.
Identifying what your weakness is.
Okay. So apologies for that. I think I fixed that. Yes. Okay. So in the absence of any more question from our participants, we had shared a poll earlier, and I want to try to see. Okay, so this is the result. Okay, I don't know if you can see my screen. This is the result of the poll that was shared earlier. We had 96 persons on the call when we shared the poll, and this is just for us. So this is specifically tailored towards Mr. Fallore's presentation, so that we can assess the knowledge level of the participants we have on the call. Now, the first question was, how would you describe your understanding of the changes reshaping the legal profession? And 31% of the respondents were very clear. They are actively following the emerging trends. 47% saying somewhat aware, I've not sad about them. 22% is saying limited, I'm just trying to catch up. That's the people playing catch up. Then question 2 is, in your view, what is the biggest driver of change in the legal profession? 53% of the respondents said technology, that's AI automation. 12% is client expectation, 25% regulation and policy, 10% answered that it is globalization and cross-border practice. Nobody mentioned alternative legal service providers. So that's probably us saying alternative legal service providers are not a problem. Then as to skills and competencies, the question was, which of these skills do you believe will be most important for future-ready lawyers? And the bulk of respondents stated that it is digital literacy and technology competence. That's 53%. 16% of the participants said it is business acumen and strategic thinking. 2% emotional intelligence and client relations. So probably have a lot of work to do on emotional intelligence. 29% is saying adaptability and continuous learning. Nobody has a problem with ethics and professional judgment. How confident are you in your current skills to thrive in the next 5 to 10 years of legal practice? 43% very confident, 53% fairly confident, 4% is somewhat confident. Well, nobody is not confident. Now, question 5, will you be open to retraining or upskilling in emerging areas like AI, data privacy, ESG law, legal tech? 84% is definitely very interested. 16% possibly, if it is relevant to my role. Nobody is saying not at the moment. The next question was, how prepared are you for the impact of technology on legal services? 37% were well prepared. We are already integrating tech solutions. That's amazing. 53% is saying moderately prepared. We are taking some steps. And the 10% is saying we are not prepared. We are still exploring our options. And question 7, what is your main concern about technology in legal practice? 14%, job displacement or redundancy. 41%, data privacy and security. And I am sure this is because the crux of our profession as legal practitioners is on confidentiality, and that's trust. 6% is ethical risks and bias. 10% is cost of implementation. 29% is lack of proper training. So there's still a lot of knowledge gap that needs to be filled in that respect. Now, question 8, what do you think the lawyer of the future will look like? 31%, a tech-savvy professional working with AI. 2% AI robots, oh, thankfully. 67% is saying a hybrid lawyer balancing law and innovation, and that's very encouraging. 0% still likely traditional, but more client-focused. Then the 9th question, how important is lifelong learning in staying relevant as a lawyer? 86% absolutely essential. So that's probably collaborates, that gives credence to the continuous learning process that the MD has set in motion, which is part of what this webinar is doing. 86% believes it is absolutely essential. 8% important but not urgent. 6% is optional. Experience is more valuable. Now, question 10, which is the last question. Is the legal practice endangered or threatened by the evolution of AI? 10% is saying yes, AI should be outlawed. They don't want it. 49% maybe, but perhaps in the nearest future. 41% saying no, it's impossible. So these are the responses we got from the poll we shared earlier when the webinar just started. Okay, so Mr. Fallory, I'm going to come back to you to just give like your closing thoughts from, I'm sure the result of this poll gives you a fair idea of the importance of the session you just facilitated, and also what you would like to say as well, more of like your parting words to practitioners on the call. Thank you.
Thank you. Pretty simple. Knowledge does not kill. It can only open up our mindsets. It opens our fora to understand what is happening or what's going to happen tomorrow. So as lawyers, we need to keep learning. Learn everything you can learn, right? Know about sports if you can, know about entertainment, as in have a bite of almost everything that is happening around you, so that because you never can tell the next conversation you're going to have with a client, and it's probably asking you, did you, even if you didn't watch the Chelsea match or the Arsenal match, but at least have an idea that there's a club called Arsenal, there's a club called Chelsea. Or if you're not a movie if you don't watch movies, you don't do music, at least know a bit of almost everything, right? Right. It doesn't turn us to be a madman. It just shows that as lawyers, we're opening our mind to knowledge. So my parting word is knowledge is key, right? Money will eventually come, but knowledge is key. Let's just all keep learning and embrace technology. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I don't know if I'm muted. Okay. Yes, thank you for that. So because my network kicked me out earlier, I'm just seeing a couple of questions from YouTube. So I don't know, and they are directed at Mr. Adedeji. So Mr. Adedeji, would you want to take those questions very quickly?
Yes, I will. Yes, I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the first speaker, if the board of directors refuse to adhere to the legal advice of the legal/compliance officer, what steps can he take to exonerate himself from the consequence?
Okay, yeah, maybe if you have more than one, maybe you should run everything at once so I can provide an answer for that. How about that?
Okay, you want more context?
No, is that the only question? I'm trying to know if that's the only question.
Okay, then the next question is refusal to comply with advice on likely breach should be documented in the event that the MD. Okay, so I think it's just a follow-up. Somebody's just responding and saying refusal to comply with advice on likely breach should be documented in the event that the MD says he was not properly advised by the legal department or risk manager. Yes, then this other question is for Mr. Oladore. How do I relate AI digitization and law practice in a practical world where laws are not complied with? It's a bit tricky, but I don't know if you got the points the person is trying to make. But Mr. Adedeji, that's the only question from you from YouTube, as far as I can see.
Okay, yes, we cited one while you were offline and we were able to attend to it. So the question you just asked, the refusal of the management or the board to follow the recommendation of a legal practitioner, that goes to the issue of, that's a very big issue actually. It's a very big issue and it's a ground for some people to resign from their work. Yeah. However, for a lighter circumstance, it's very good that there should be documentation. When people reach out to you as their legal practitioner and they request for your opinion on something, it's very, very important to make your stand known in black and white, plain black and white. That's what happens in practice. That's how most practitioners get themselves out of unnecessary trouble. When they come and they ask you questions, and all you just need to do is to let them know that this is what the law says. And even if you're in a meeting, you need to put such in the minutes of the meeting because it has to be on record that while this decision was being made, This was the advice of the company secretary, the compliance officer, or the legal advisor. It's very, very important so that when there's a future, when there's a future occurrence, there will be, you will get a soft landing for yourself. That was why I started the case of that company where there was a resolution to move to dedicate a certain amount of money to a project. And the company secretary and legal advisor was there. He drafted the resolution. And at the end of the day, aside the fact that they had gone ultra virus, the problem was that that fund was looted, and it was not a record that the legal practitioner was involved in the looting of the fund. But when the judge was giving a judgment, the court said that as a professional, there are some things that you should have taken as in line with ethics of your profession. So I just want to appeal to all our colleagues, especially the younger ones. When people reach out to you, and that's where this is another important one that I will equally want Mr. Fallery to stretch when the mic is passed to him. In this era where clients seek opinion through WhatsApp, through Snapchat, through Instagram, through SMS or whatever, be very, very careful. Try as much as possible to make sure that where you interact with people and social organizations and you're giving them opinions, try to advise them through emails. And if you will be doing it through other instant messaging apps, try as much as possible to make sure they are the ones that have records where you can store your record of conversation so that you can make reference to such communication at the end of the day. The best possible one, if you send the document to them, they acknowledge it, or you send an email to them, it will be on record that it was delivered. But if people, there are some clients that are just interesting, the 21st century clients, they reach out to you through any platform. So when you are responding to them, please make sure your channel of response is a traceable one because of tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Dedeji, for that input. So, Mr. Fallery, would you want to take that question from direct from YouTube?
Thank you for the question, so I can respond.
Sir?
Do you mind repeating the question?
Okay, so let me go searching for it.
Is it the one that relates to how do I relate AI digitalization?
Yes, how do I relate AI digitization and law practice in a practical world where laws are not complied with? Yeah.
Truth is, not all laws have been complied with. We can't dismiss that because one, we have weak digital infrastructure. Even the regulators at times don't want to enforce the law, or they engross with other things and not in line, or they are not even aware that certain laws have been breached. A very good example is you have the Nigerian Data Protection Act, right, which has also released a guideline. And quite recently, about also a couple of weeks ago, there was a newsletter that was circulated in social space where they asked, they had listed out the names of quite a number of financial institution, banks, and all that, and telling them to comply. And what came to my head was, okay, for a microfinance bank that is somewhere in Modaeke in Osun State or somewhere in the north, does the Nigerian Data Protection Commission, have the tools to actually go to that branch? Because that's a microfinance bank of tier 2 that have only one branch. Do they have the resources to actually go to that branch and go and do a data audit to investigate whether or not the bank is actually complying with data privacy law? And the answer is no, they don't have that capacity. So more or less, you would always have, there are laws, or you would have laws that it will be hard for regulators to comply or to enforce. So that will always be a challenge. But for us, what do we do? Let's do what we need to do, which is what? Document your advice to clients. Let them know that this is what the law says, right? It's left for them. We can't force a client to obey the law, right? But we can recommend, we can refer, but document those things. It's like what we do, what in-house counsel, people that work internally as lawyers do. You've provided an advice to your boss, and they've refused to comply with it. At the end of the day, things went south. They're probably going to come back to you and say, oh, you're the compliance officer, how come you didn't advise us appropriately? And it now becomes a case of, oh, I did. Where's the evidence? But if you had probably in the course of you advising them, you had probably put that in a mail, it would be easier for you to pull it up and say, look, I wrote this memo on this date, and these were my recommendations. So it's one thing for us to advise, it's another thing for the client to obey. So for us in the practical world, let the clients or let our people, stakeholders know what the law says or what the law requires. Because then my fellow speaker mentioned something earlier concerning clients asking questions or asking for legal opinions via WhatsApp and all that. You could lose information on WhatsApp, but if you had sent that opinion or that message via email, it's easier for you to track. And I always do this in as much as we've sent the client the information or the opinion via WhatsApp. I always want to put it back in the mail so that you're able to reference it probably in 5, 6 years to come. And also remember that lastly, um, there's a data retention policy, which is based on where the space in which you operate, usually 5 or most often 6 years, right? So imagine if your client comes back at you 7 or 8 years after. It even happened to us recently. There was a client that we did something for about 10 years ago, and they came back asking for that information. If I didn't have it, I'm not I can't be held down because uh data retention policy in the office is 6 years. So anything beyond 6 years, you can't hold us down for not having it. Particularly if we are one time or the other offered legal services to you under a retainer, but we had that information, we were able to share it just because we had it. If we didn't have it and it was beyond the 6 years, there's nothing the client can do about it, right? More or less that. So to answer, so I believe with all the narrative I've given, I've more or less answered the question that lawyers, please let's always advise the clients of what the law is, what the directive is. It's now, and of course, persuade them to obey the law so that we would avoid damage controls. That's it.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
me
sir.
too.
And apologies to our participants. We have overstretched our time by 14 minutes, and apologies for that. So on this note, we have come to the end of this webinar. I mean, network has played a hard and fast one, but somehow we pull through. On behalf of the MBA Garki branch, I want to particularly appreciate our very esteemed speakers. I want to appreciate ICSAN Abuja chapter for the collaboration that made this possible. I want to appreciate Dr. Choma Okeke, the chair of the ICSAN Abuja chapter. I want to appreciate our very esteemed participants who have stayed glued to their screen, phones as it were, up till now. On YouTube, on Zoom, thank you so much, everyone. On this note, the webinar is officially come to an end. For legal practitioners on the call, the CPD link is being repeatedly posted on YouTube and on Zoom. So please fill the link to claim your CPD points. Because the link was shared a bit late, I'm going to be leaving the meeting room open. I'm going to be online for another 5 minutes, so keep reposting the link. But after, that's once it's 20 minutes after 2, we're going to be shutting down the meeting platform and the link will no longer be receiving responses like I announced earlier. So please fill the link while the session is ongoing. Please fill the link while the session is ongoing. Thank you so much. On this note, we have officially come to the end of this knowledge sharing session, and we hope that you make it a date with us some other time when we call again. Thank you, everyone, and have a very productive day. Thank you. So yes, please fill the CPD link in the chat box. And if you fill the link, you are at liberty to exit the meeting.
If I didn't have it, I can't be held down because data retention policy in the office is 6 years. So anything beyond 6 years, you can't hold us down for that. But clearly, if we are one time or the other offered legal services to you under a retainer, but we had that information, we were able to share it just because we had it. If we didn't have it and it was beyond the 6 years, there's nothing the client can do about it, right? More or less that. So to answer, under a retainer, but we had that information, we were able to share it
just because we had it. If we didn't, and was 6 years, there's nothing the client can do about all of that. So, to answer, we had change, just because we had it. If we didn't, and 6 years, there's nothing. So,
Once again, I'm reposting the CPD link. If you have filled the link, you are at liberty to exit the meeting room. Thank you. Kindly fill the link to get your CPD points. Okay. Once again, I'm reposting the CPD link. If you have filled the link, you are at liberty to exit the meeting room. Thank you. Okay. So oh, the link is working. The link is working. It's been receiving responses. I have filled the link. So if you are having technical issues feeding the link, you can refresh your internet, you can change your browser. Any of that will help. But the link is open, the link is working and accepting responses for now. Thank you. Once again, I am reposting the CPD link. If you have filled the link, you are able to exit the meeting room. Thank you. Okay. All right, so in 1 minute, granted, the link is working. The link is working. It's been receiving responses. I have filled the link. So if you are having so in 1 minute, we'll be closing the meeting room. If you're having, like I said earlier, like I announced earlier, if you're having any form of technical challenge filling the link, you can copy the link and paste in a different browser. You can refresh your internet within, okay, so it is actually time up. I have super extended the time. All right. So thank you once again, everyone. And we hope to see you some other time. All right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.